Hey! Hi! How you doing? This is the Gamertron, and welcome back to the Gamertron Show. Now, the video game series, the video game franchise, Star Wars Battlefront, means a lot to me. It's important to me. The original Star Wars Battlefront and the original Star Wars Battlefront 2 are important parts of my childhood. Those two video games were almost, in a sense, the only video games I played and had access to up until 2009, where I'd say I became a true gamer embracing all types of varying different video games. But until then, for the longest time, for years, the only video games I played were Star Wars Battlefront and Star Wars Battlefront 2, the originals. So this series, this franchise, this name, this title is important to me. Now, back in 2015, with the original EA's Star Wars Battlefront, developed by DICE, I genuinely liked the game. I honestly believe it to be a good game, and I do believe it became a much better game over time with the free content updates and the DLC expansions. But I do agree that the game had problems, especially a lack of content at launch and it just being overtly pricey and expensive, especially when it came to the Season Pass and expansions. And of course, the shallow progression system. Now, I agree for the most part with all these issues that the game had at launch, but I wasn't nearly as critical of the game as other people were. I wasn't as critical, I didn't have as much of a negative view of the original EA Star Wars Battlefront developed by DICE, because when it came to the development side of things, when it came to the actual gameplay and the visuals and the music, I could see and I could feel the love and the passion the developers over at DICE have for Star Wars. With their meticulous detail in everything, the character models, the weapons, the environments, and the music, oh, that classic Star Wars soundtrack. When you're in the moment, when you blurt everything else, when you're in those big, epic battles, EA's, DICE's Star Wars Battlefront made you feel like you were in those epic Star Wars battles. But EA's Star Wars Battlefront had the critical issue of the lack of features, the lack of options and customization, especially when it came to solo and PvE play. I honestly believe EA's Star Wars Battlefront had the gameplay nailed down. They had the gameplay, they had the visuals, they just needed more. They needed more. They needed more options and features and customization. And so when 2017 rolled around and the announcement for EA's Star Wars Battlefront 2 came up, I, like most people, were excited and anticipated for Star Wars Battlefront 2. Unlike its predecessor, it was going to have a single-player campaign, introduce us to new characters, a new perspective in the Star Wars universe. It was going to contain all the different timelines in the Star Wars universe. Not just Rebel versus Empire, but clones versus Separatists, First Order versus Resistance. It was going to have more maps, actual different character classes, more heroes, fully fleshed out space combat, space battles. And now Star Wars Battlefront 2 is here, and I've played it extensively. And if I'm being totally honest, EA's Star Wars Battlefront 2 is a very difficult video game to review because, quite frankly, the game's a mess. In some ways, it feels like an early access game, like it's unfinished. In other ways, it captures the magic that we saw with the first Star Wars Battlefront, that love and that passion for Star Wars. Just like the previous game, the graphics are absolutely stunning, beautiful. The amount of detail in the character models, the weapons, the environments, the special effects is stunning even, and that music, oh, that classic Star Wars music. And the gameplay, oh, the gameplay feels just as good, just as buttery smooth as the first Star Wars Battlefront, if not better, with more power and weight even in some regards when it comes to the weapons and movement. But then we come to the actual content of the game. Yes, the game now has a single-player campaign, but it has less multiplayer game modes than the first Battlefront, and it has less solo/PvE options than the first Battlefront. What the fuck? We now technically have a deeper progression system with a lot more stuff to grind for, to play the game for, to unlock. But, of course, as you've all heard, it's locked away behind RNG loot boxes. For every positive that Star Wars Battlefront 2 has, there's an equal negative. Yes, we have more hero characters than in the first game. They're far more diverse and dynamic with their abilities, but the balancing is way off. There are some heroes that are drastically more powerful and more effective than others. Yes, we now have a class system, which adds more variety and replayability and different playstyles with the new different trooper classes. But if you want to unlock anything for those classes, you need to consistently play the same class over and over again. If you're switching between classes, you're hampering and slowing down your progression for a certain class, especially if you want to unlock their different weapons, which require you get a certain amount of kills with each class. And then there's the star cards, which are a great idea in concept, but completely incompetently handled in execution. And somehow, I don't know how they did this, but from EA's Star Wars Battlefront 1 to EA's Star Wars Battlefront 2, there's less customization and options. You can't select the specific maps you want to play on. In multiplayer, you can't play Galactic Assault or Starfighter Assault in the solo PvE arcade mode, whereas you could in the first Battlefront. There's also no more Horde mode, like there was in the first Battlefront. Why is there no Horde mode? Why is the co-op Horde mode gone? And what is with the connectivity and stability of the multiplayer? The last Star Wars Battlefront ran perfectly smooth, no online connectivity issues, but with Battlefront 2, I'm getting lag and rubber banding almost every multiplayer match I play. EA's Star Wars Battlefront 2 feels incomplete, unfinished, even unpolished in several ways. And yet, despite all the crap, all the bullshit surrounding Star Wars Battlefront 2, I can't deny that I've had a blast playing the game. That core base gameplay, that first-person / third-person shooting, the simple, arcadey, and yet powerful, ability-based hero characters are a blast to play as. And the space battles, oh my god, the space battles! The starfighter combat in Star Wars Battlefront 2, EA's Star Wars Battlefront 2, is phenomenal. It's excellent. And I can't deny this is an absolute positive. All future content update, all future DLC and maps and hero characters, all that jazz is going to be free. Just recently, Star Wars Battlefront 2 had a huge The Last Jedi update to tie in with the movie, adding a single-player campaign epilogue, which surprised the hell out of me. I did not see that coming. Free single-player DLC, that was cool. If not feeling a bit cut off, like this is the actual ending of the game and they just didn't finish the game in time, so they finished the ending afterwards and added it on as free DLC, but hey, what do I know? I'm not a game developer, I'm not working at DICE. That's just my impressions. We got a whole new giant galactic assault map for multiplayer, with a brand new environment and vehicle models, and new daily and weekly challenges to complete, giving you rewards. It's really difficult to talk about Star Wars Battlefront 2 because I see a great game here. I see the great game that DICE was trying to develop, but something's off. Something's wrong. Crap is missing. Basic features and content and customization is missing. And shockingly enough, it was stuff that was in their first outing, their first Star Wars Battlefront. Yes, we have a single-player campaign, but there's less PvE, less player versus AI options than in the first Star Wars Battlefront. We have less multiplayer game modes than in the first Battlefront. We can't select what maps we want to play on like in the first Battlefront. Also, private matches, private lobbies are gone. And then there's the loot boxes and the star cards. It just absolutely makes the progression system an absolute goddamn mess. So you earn credits by completing multiplayer matches, and the whole point of these credits is to spend these credits on getting the loot boxes. And you get random star cards in these loot boxes for your trooper classes, your starfighter classes, and all the different heroes. But of course, it's RNG. You can get cards for classes and heroes that you don't even play as or like. And the only way to directly obtain and purchase the star cards for the classes and heroes you want is through another separate currency outside of credits you earn playing matches called crafting parts. And you need crafting parts in order to upgrade star cards that you own and purchase star cards that you don't already own. But you also need crafting parts to craft new weapons and attachments for those weapons for your different classes. Now, I don't mind progression systems in video games. I don't mind grinding in video games. I think both these things can be done well, and I've played several video games that do these well and have me playing them for several hours, not just for the enjoyable gameplay, but through the satisfaction of making progress in the progression system, unlocking more stuff, and accumulating a large amount of power or currency. But Star Wars Battlefront 2's progression system and grind, it's ridiculous. I've spent over 20 hours in the multiplayer so far, and I've barely unlocked anything. Whereas in other multiplayer video games like Rainbow Six Siege, Titanfall 2, For Honor, Doom 2016, and even, oh my god, I can't believe I'm about to say it, Overwatch, 20 hours in the multiplayer of all of those games nets you a ton of rewards, currency, cosmetics, upgrades, and power. But in Star Wars Battlefront 2, the grind is too slow. The progression is too slow. And keep in mind, this has been upgraded and updated since launch. They've quote-unquote patched and improved the progression system, and even despite its patching and upgrading and supposed fixing, I'm still barely unlocking anything in the progression system. What's keeping me playing and enjoying Star Wars Battlefront 2? It's not its progression system. It's the gameplay, it's the visuals, it's the audio that has me playing Star Wars Battlefront 2. But those things can only keep me playing a video game for so long. Yes, I'm having fun. But there are other video games I can have just as much fun in and make meaningful progress. Feel a sense of, dare I say it, pride and accomplishment in. I look back at the progress I've made in Titanfall 2 and it feels great seeing all the cosmetic skins that I've unlocked, looking at all the weapons and attachments I have available to me, looking at all the cosmetics I earned in Rainbow Six Siege, looking at all the cosmetics and powerful gear I earned in For Honor, and all the crazy paint jobs and armor customization I've earned for my Doom Marine in Doom. I think EA's and DICE's Star Wars Battlefront 2 could have an excellent progression system. I think they have the bones, the baseline, the foundation to build a great progression system. The accumulation of power through the star cards, unlocking weapons and weapon attachments. There's nothing fundamentally wrong with that. It's the execution of these systems which makes the progression system such a slog and unsatisfying and unrewarding. And that's a damn shame, because I think DICE has nailed the gameplay, but if there was an excellent progression system to accompany the solid gameplay, we could have an addicting and very replayable experience on our hands with EA's and DICE's Star Wars Battlefront 2. Ugh. I'm a broken record at this point, but talking about Star Wars Battlefront 2 is so frustrating because I know there's a good video game here. I'm playing it, I'm having fun in the game, I know there's a good game here, but it's just surrounded by so much crap, by so many poor decisions. And this is bizarre, because it's coming from DICE. I'm sure the publisher, EA, had its incompetent meddling, as usual, in play in the development of EA's Star Wars Battlefront 2, but DICE? A lot of these issues in Star Wars Battlefront 2 stem from the developer, unfortunately. Balancing is all over the place. Online stability is all over the place. There are content and features missing from the previous game, even though there's technically more content in this game. And the progression system is a slow, unrewarding mess, and even frustrating at times with the RNG nature of the loot boxes. And yet despite all these issues negatively affecting the core experience that Star Wars Battlefront 2 offers via its beautiful visuals, its graphics, its fun, buttery smooth, arcadey, action-packed first-person and third-person shooting gameplay, and the stellar audio design. Also, I should finally mention the actual single-player campaign within Star Wars Battlefront 2. Now, I wish I could say more, I could speak more in detail and in length about the actual story in the single-player campaign, but if I'm being totally honest, the story at times seems almost non-existent. I did not care for, I was not engaged by, I wasn't attached to the story and characters in any way, shape, or form, with the exception of one single-player mission, which I'll get into in a bit. But what makes the single-player campaign, for me at least, very enjoyable was what Star Wars Battlefront 2 does best. its graphics and gameplay, its visuals, and its action-packed Star Wars-esque shootouts. Level after level, environment after environment, Star Wars Battlefront 2's single-player campaign continued to just be visually spectacular, jaw-dropping. This is one of, if not, dare I say it, the best-looking video game of all time. Lighting, special effects, the texture work, the amount of detail in every asset of the game, it's stunning. And the gameplay itself, like the previous Battlefront, is simple, arcadey, first-person and third-person shooter action. It's not as deep and dynamic as, say, Doom or Titanfall. It's simple, casual, easy to get a hold of, easy to get into, action-packed gameplay. However, it does have some intricacies and more varied mechanics from the first game that add more depth. There's an improved melee system with stealth takedowns, several different abilities that allow for personalization and customization, and make all the different characters you play throughout the single-player campaign feel unique and distinct, and the endlessly useful dodging and rolling. It's just such a shame that there isn't a memorable or really engaging story to follow the graphics and gameplay that the single-player campaign offers. It has an interesting opening setting, playing as an elite specialist of the Empire, Iden Versio, but then the single-player campaign kind of forgets her story for a few missions and has you playing as classic Star Wars characters, Princess Leia, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and others. And then there's the space battles. Oh my god, the space battles. Whether it's the specific space battle missions and chapters in the single-player campaign or space battles in multiplayer, I cannot stress enough how much fun the starfighter combat, the space battles of Star Wars Battlefront 2 are. They're really good, really fun. Just that perfect mesh, that perfect combination of visuals and gameplay. Now, while I certainly had fun for the vast majority of Star Wars Battlefront 2's campaign, the vast majority of the single-player levels, the single-player missions are good, especially the space battle ones. But there is one level, there's one mission, there's one chapter specifically I wanted to talk about, and that's the one where you get to play as Lando Calrissian. So the setup for the mission is Lando Calrissian and this new character introduced in the Star Wars Battlefront 2 campaign, one of the more memorable characters of the campaign, Shriv. Lando and Shriv are supposed to infiltrate this Imperial factory on the lava planet Sullust. And the dialogue between Lando and Shriv is simply excellent. It's Star Wars. It's that playful banter, that back and forth between characters that we've seen in all the movies and the animated TV shows. And the dynamic between Shriv and Lando, it's hilarious. It's entertaining as hell. It's Star Wars. Not just in visuals, not just in music, but in feel. So of course the infiltration mission immediately escalates and Lando and Shriv are storming the Imperial factory that's building AT-ATs and AT-STs. And as Lando, you're blasting your way through the factory, shooting up dozens of stormtroopers at once, while the factory around you is exploding and getting consumed by lava, and at the end of the mission you get to drive an AT-ST and blow up stormtroopers and buildings and vehicles. Oh my god, I cannot express enough how awesome, how much fun the Lando Calrissian level is in Star Wars Battlefront 2. I wish the whole campaign was like that. Hell, I wish the whole campaign just focused on Lando and Shriv. That one level, that character dynamic between Lando and Shriv, just the attitude, the tone, the dialogue, the music, the visuals, the gameplay, it all accumulated to create a pure, entertaining, memorable Star Wars and video game experience. And that's why Star Wars Battlefront 2 is, in the end, so disappointing. Because there is genuine good here. There's genuine fun to be had here. There's a genuinely really good game here. I can see it. I can feel it. But there's so many issues, so many problems, so many things dragging the game down. In the end, however, I know this is crazy to say, but despite all the issues Star Wars Battlefront 2 has, I do recommend the game. I do recommend you play it, because I genuinely believe there is enjoyment, there is fun to be had. Star Wars Battlefront 2, EA's Star Wars Battlefront 2, DICE's Star Wars Battlefront 2 is fun. That love and that passion for Star Wars is here. If you're a big fan of Star Wars, like I am, I have no doubt that Star Wars Battlefront 2, this video game can put a smile on your face, can give you good memories, but the incompetence and the poor decisions of the publisher, Electronic Arts, EA, and the developer, DICE, and all the controversy when it comes to the temporarily disabled microtransactions concerning the loot boxes, and the very likely possibility of a pay-to-win progression system and power system via the loot boxes and the eventual return of the microtransactions, I can't recommend buying this game at full price. I can't recommend buying it at full price. Hell, I'm not sure I can recommend buying it at all. But I do recommend that you at least give it a try and play it. Now, I know that's confusing. How can you recommend not buying it, yet still recommend playing it? How can you play a video game without buying it? I wonder, whatever could I be implying here?
Your heart, fiddle indeed. Being a pirate is a red indeed. Do what you want, cause a pirate is free. You are a pirate.
Anyways, that has been my convoluted and confusing thoughts on the video game EA's Star Wars Battlefront 2. And this has been a video. I hope you liked the video. If you did indeed like the video in any way, shape, or form, please be sure to hit the like button. Hitting the like button helps you, helps me, helps everybody involved in the video. If you hit the like button, please leave a comment in the comment section down below. What are your thoughts, feelings, and opinions on Star Wars Battlefront 2 and this video? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you want to help out and support this video, then please share it on social media, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you want to help out and support me directly, well, there's always Patreon. Anyways, guys, this has been a video, and I'll see you all later.